I've been attacked. My staff has been attacked.
Andrea Suarez started a volunteer organization to clear trash from parks and homeless encampments. She said she had no idea she'd come face to face with Antifa.
So, the conversation around ever-growing numbers of homeless in America's big cities has taken a darker turn. And parts of our country's humanitarian care complex have now aligned themselves with dangerous domestic groups who've got the goal of siphoning money intended for the less fortunate so they can use it for purposes of harming America. And on top of that, it's now come out that homeless encampments are now prime recruiting spots for Antifa.
Criminals, the black market of stolen goods, it all thrives here. Well, what's happening right here is being enabled by the homeless nonprofits. And the homeless nonprofits, the research shows, is working with far left militants and violent domestic terrorists like Antifa.
Imagine paying LA rent prices and you end up with a view of this. This fast-growing homeless encampment has popped up on a vacant lot in Koreatown, and neighbors are livid.
The reason why people are sleeping here is because you leaders are sleeping on not taking initiative and action to clean this place up.
And it's a business. All they do is steal your money. I know they get money. It's just, where's the money going? It's not going to the homeless.
Yes, I'm moving far from Portland, actually. I'm moving out of the city. My kids can't come outside to play. They're scared.
These activists, these Antifa mobs, the people that are supporting the homeless industrial complex are the ones that are causing a lot of the energy around anti-police, pro-homeless agenda that aren't interested in solving the problem.
So look at this chart right here. New York, Oregon, Washington. These are areas of the country where you've got sizable homeless populations and also sizable Antifa factions. And what nobody's talking about is the connection between these two groups. It has created a self-sustaining nightmare for our country. And it's come out that as homelessness surges, the very groups tasked with helping the homeless are redirecting the money they get, not into practical, on-the-ground solutions that work, but into things like advocacy, litigation, and lobbying, which expand the power of the homeless industrial complex while keeping people perpetually on the streets, people who most of America look at and really want to help, but can't seem to do so because the money that is supposed to go to those individuals never makes it there. And while these groups enrich themselves and fund radicalism, the very Americans they're supposed to help receive neglect instead. But now something's changed, and these left field groups benefiting from homelessness have found a new ally in the very groups that want to destroy prosperity in this country. And that brings us to the real reason homelessness is a never-ending problem. The very groups that are supposed to stop homelessness have teamed up with groups that want more homelessness, and then the groups that are supposed to stop it and help homelessness, well, now they need more funding because there's just so many people who need help. It's one giant circle of failure. And this isn't just happening in places like Seattle or Portland. It happens at homeless encampments coast to coast. And when authorities attempt to clear these hotbeds of lawlessness, they face militant resistance, which we're now learning may come from agitators who rile up America's less fortunate so they'll throw themselves at police.
About a dozen people chanted and attempted to stop city crews as they were working to clear out this large encampment off Oxnard and the 405. You can see how big it was from News Chopper 4. 3 protesters were detained, cited, and released according to the mayor's office.
So here you've got folks in a homeless encampment who decided to resist law enforcement's attempts to help clean up the area and get people off the streets. Antifa agitators sow the seeds of dissent in encampments like this, with the goal of militarizing the less fortunate to serve their own anti-police, anti-law enforcement objectives. And nowhere is this more apparent than in massive sanctuary cities that have so much homeless advocacy money that there should be zero homelessness in these places, yet for some reason it's worse than ever.
It's a business. All they do is steal your money. I know they get money. It's not like they don't get money. It's just, where's the money going? It's not going to the homeless. This is all money making. It's a business for them.
He's right. It's a business. The money's not making it to the people who need it. For some reason, it doesn't get there, but there are always more groups that are out there, claiming that we're out there making a difference, claiming we're going to start some initiative, claiming we got some new plan to make sure this all goes away. It never does. But the homeless aren't stupid. America's not stupid, and neither are the researchers who've just blown this whole thing wide open. And as you're about to see, the homeless industrial complex in this country has been totally co-opted by the wrong people.
Joe says it's all financial grift by the homeless industrial complex and that Antifa has infiltrated all of it.
Well, what's happening right here is being enabled by the homeless nonprofits. And the homeless nonprofits, the research shows, is working with far left militants and progressive groups and violent domestic terrorists like Antifa.
So there's an entire apparatus out there that benefits from homelessness, while the very people the homeless crisis is named after stay in their predicament. And the groups that benefit from this want the worst for our country. And they've gone about accomplishing this dire situation through their activism, lobbying for increased decriminalization of all crimes associated with living on the street. And while you may hear activists saying that the homeless aren't criminals, they just need help, although that might be true because not every homeless person is also a thief, a robber, or assailant, or an Antifa member, this attitude has paralyzed police in these sanctuary cities and now allows year-long encampments that lead to a whole host of other problems in these cities, which do survive on the sale of stolen property, which do survive because of shoplifting, and do lead to increased crime, totally crashing the local area wherever these places spring up, driving residents away.
The connection between the homeless industrial complex and the tie-in to Antifa. It's there clear as day.
But what's really shocking is what people who've got common sense solutions and actually want to help people get off the street find when they try to do that.
Andrea Suarez, lifelong Democrat and Seattle resident, started a volunteer organization, We Heart Seattle, to clear trash from parks and homeless encampments. She said she had no idea she'd come face to face with Antifa.
I've been attacked.
Wow.
My staff has been attacked. We've been pushed into traffic.
But here's the question, why?
I'm not in alignment with their ideology.
Whoa, so look at that. The radicals out there that want to keep America homeless and keep America in poverty and want to destroy our country are upset when folks with the right idea come along and try to reverse their destruction. And this makes sense. You've now got Antifa holding hands with the homeless industrial complex, walking towards the edge of despair, trying to bring as many people with them as they can. And if these tents disappear, that means less money for the homeless industrial complex and less money and funding for things Antifa wants to accomplish stealthily as they infiltrate various nonprofit organizations. And here's how they do this. These black-clad rioters, well, they take off their masks, they go to meetings, community events, they get involved, and then they steer those meetings in directions that this group, which wants to totally demolish our country, finds acceptable. Like less criminalization, lower rates of felony prosecutions, misdemeanors for everything, even assault, robbery, you name it. All of this stuff benefits those who want to be guerrilla rioters and try and take it to law enforcement whenever they see the opportunity. And the report in question here is considerable. It's around 50 pages, and it goes through various examples of how left-wing homeless advocacy groups have been infiltrated by Antifa-connected rioters, and how those rioters do everything they can to make sure that these groups, these publicly funded organizations, do things that align with their vision for America, which is not exactly a good one.
Are the ones that target the police officers.
He says in 2020, Antifa firebombed his office.
And people that align themselves with socialist political ideology are the ones that are causing a lot of the energy around anti-police, pro-homeless agenda that aren't interested in solving the problem.
They know that the homeless crisis is chaotic and out of control, and they want to take advantage of that chaos.
They don't.
Yeah, because it's a massive grift. Every single person living on the streets is a visible problem that all of America has the heart to solve and to help. And these groups, they say, yep, we'll do it. Just give us money. We'll solve it. But think about this. If these homeless advocacy outreach groups, if they ever solved homelessness, what would be the purpose of their existence? And what would these people do with themselves? They don't want homelessness to go away, because if homelessness goes away, then they've got to go away.
Powell Boulevard is another Portland tactic for addressing homelessness.
I thought it was ridiculous.
This fence and these concrete blocks were installed over the past 18 months by the city's Public Environment Management Office. A city spokesperson tells KGW the fence and concrete is meant to harden the space and deter homeless people from setting up camp.
There.
It actually didn't. They moved them around and camped in there.
A project that cost around $23,000.
Oh, so $23,000 went to some contractor to come and drop cement blocks and a pretty terrible looking chain link fence, totally destroying a street. And the thinking behind all of these programs and initiatives reveals every solution is toothless or just a waste of money, which actually funnels public funds into whoever's pockets dropped off all this stuff. And you know what an easy excuse for the failure of this program is? Well, the reason it didn't work is because the city only paid $23,000. We didn't have enough concrete blocks. The fences weren't tall enough. There weren't enough fences. Pay us to do more, and we'll get better results. And since you didn't, we keep the money and you keep the non-results.
Taxpayer money approved in this year's budget.
Using tax dollars for methods that don't actually solve a problem is pretty problematic.
That's all we do.
It does nothing, as you can see. There's nothing to stop them.
Just to keep us out, and then we don't have no place to go.
I'll make complaint after complaint after complaint.
Homeless camps are making life harder for people on the other end of Powell Boulevard, closer to I-205, despite neighborhood efforts to deter them.
Because the way that they deter homelessness in these areas is they chase it around while enabling it. Meanwhile, all the folks that come out and clean up these encampments, well, they've got a job until the end of time, because the encampments keep growing and the work and the need is so great that we need more resources. And you see how this works, don't you now? All of the money keeps coming in, the problem keeps growing, and the homeless industrial complex just grows and grows. Well, behind the scenes, these militant groups are fighting for laws and policies that just exasperate the whole problem. But what about the president's recent executive order on homelessness? What's that gonna do? Is it doing something? It is, and the complex is very upset about it.
The executive order calls for a tougher response to the chronically homeless than what has been offered in cities such as LA, San Diego, and San Francisco, where some leaders argue that seeking help can no longer be voluntary.
We've got to get people into treatment. We got to get people into the help they need.
The administration is also targeting the housing first policy, which many California cities have adopted.
You cannot camp on a public sidewalk.
That's what's key about this whole housing first policy, which exists in places that have the largest numbers of people living on the streets. This is the problem. What is housing first? It is a homeless assistance approach that prioritizes providing permanent housing to people experiencing homelessness, thus ending their homelessness and serving as a platform from which they can pursue personal goals and improve their quality of life. This approach is guided by the belief that people need basic necessities like food and a place to live before attending to anything less critical, including entering something like a mental health treatment program, which means you've got people who are in need of serious medical attention and they are unable to live in their own housing first provided dwelling, but we're going to give them apartments they can't live in, and we're going to expect them to just figure everything out, and then we'll get around to having them see a doctor and actually start getting the help they need. That's why this isn't working. But this is how the homeless industrial complex thrives. It's got a backward system. It wants to enable people to live in a manner that is not conducive to the best life these folks could possibly be living, and it wants to start doing that before actually evaluating them and helping them in any meaningful way. And as you're about to see, this is a big problem for these groups that have been siphoning away America's money while leaving Americans on the street.
You know what's disturbing? We are about to see the largest increase in United States history towards recovery-based programs to finally help the homeless. Trump is reallocating funds that we've been spending on the housing first model for decades.
Hasn't worked.
What's disturbing is the people that hate him, who are also the people that run a high percent of the homeless industrial complex, refuse to accept this.
Right. Because if people recover from mental health issues that keep them on the streets permanently, they cannot be a permanent reason to keep funding the homeless industrial complex and to keep propping it up. And of course, everyone who profits from that is totally disturbed by this lawless president and how tough he's being on the homeless and how inhumane he is. When the reality is, it's their programs that trap people in an endless cycle of despair that they can't get out of because they don't even know they're in it. What do you think about all this? Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.